making a waistband to go on a skirt. The skirt was a dress, but I actually don't like how it's been designed, and I'm losing weight, so I'm not really going to fit the type of dress that it was. So I'm just going to go ahead with a skirt. The way it'll work is it'll have a straight band at the front, going into elasticated around the sides and back, only just slightly, so that as I continue to lose weight, it will still fit. I could leave it and just go ahead and take the skirt in down the track, but I'd like for the skirt to keep fitting me for as long as I can, so I'm going to make it adjustable in that regards. So the waistband is in 3 parts. It'll be the front, middle section is going to be straight, and then the 2 sides. So this part between here and here will be straight, and then the other 2 sides will be elasticated, and then it'll be a zipped skirt. So it's the lining of the waistband. This is the proper material. I've put the 2 pieces together with the seams facing each other. I just want to basically tack them together so that it'll be easier to work with. You can see here I have the seams open, so I make a flatter seam as I can. Sewing the waistband on to what is now going to be a skirt. You just have to be remembering with sewing, you make sure all your material is lying nice and flat and smooth underneath the presser foot. Otherwise you're going to end up with sewing in folds or creases, or sewing the wrong piece of material between 2 other pieces of material. Which you don't want, obviously. And if that does happen, and honestly it has happened to everybody, all you have to do is to stop sewing, unpick that bit, straighten everything out, and resew it. But you do get to be a little, I wouldn't want to say paranoid, but definitely a little OCD along those lines, straightening and making sure that everything is as it should be going under the presser foot, because it's just annoying. Got a little crease here. Now then, make sure I've got those bits lined up nicely. There we have the start. So that will be folded under and sewn, so all the raw edges are under, basically like that. Now that I have sewn this waistband onto the skirt initially, this tacking on the edge is causing a few wrinkles, so I'm actually going to take it off. So one of the reasons that I sewed it at a length of 4 is that it's light gathering, so you can actually, that's how you would do some gathering. But see, that's gathering it up, but you can actually take it out and find it again. It's not cutting it, just loosening it so I can basically gather it up, and then when it gets too thick you snap the thread and you've removed the stitching on that section. I'm just going to go sew a zigzag stitch across the raw edges inside the where will be the inside of the waistband. I've now folded the hem over and tucked the edge underneath all the way along. I folded the ends in, although I'm not going to sew them straight away, but I will be sewing it from this side. So the reason is that is I can get a nice neat line of top stitching, possibly a double line across the waistband. I want to make it nice and neat, so if I sew it from the top I can see what I'm doing a lot better. The pins actually are all the wrong way around, so I'm just going to turn them all around, and so I can sew. You want to keep the majority of fabric to this side of the sewing machine rather than trying to bunch it up and go through here. So if I sew this now, all the pins are going through the wrong way, so I'll just turn them around. And the way you can check again with the hem of the seam of the waistband is you can see that the pins are all catching on the waistband on the inside. So that should come close to being exactly right. And as I said, I'll probably do a second layer of stitching, which will be 100% to catch all of it. All right, those pins are all turned around. I'm ready to go. Now with this thick fabric, you do have to be careful with the ends that it doesn't pull and bunch. Other than that, it's just same straight sewing that we've been doing. Okay, now you line up for the seam that's already there. So I have to move this over a smidge. Alright. And off we go. Now if you can carefully see with this particular machine, on the foot there is a little center thickening, but that is right where the needle comes down. You can see it lines up. So if I line up the seam between the waistband and the skirt, I'm fairly spot on for that seam. Just checking my sewing is going fairly well. I'm just making sure I'm flattening the fabric. Check on the inside. So the inside, if the seam is not exactly where perfectly aligned, that doesn't matter because it's the inside, which is why, as you saw, you can see why I'm sewing from the outside, because if that is what you saw on the outside, that isn't very pleasing. I seem to be catching the edges, so that's good. Seems like there's a lot of pins, and that's because I really want to keep that inside edge caught as much as I can. It's always a bit harder to sew over seams because they're more layers of fabric. Obviously I've got a lot more layers on one side than I have on the other. Inspect all the edge, see if there's anywhere that hasn't caught the hem. That is caught along the whole of the hem.